Hey everyone, welcome back. I am without my laptop today, so excuse the limited setup. Anyways, I want to dive into Spencer Pratt. Now, some of you may not know who he is. Spencer Pratt first became famous in the mid 2000s on MTV's The Hills alongside Heidi Montag. And if you remember that era of television, Spencer understood something very early on that would later completely take over social media and eventually politics: attention. Attention is power. He knew controversy worked, he knew outrage worked, he knew conflict kept people watching. Say something inflammatory, create drama, get people emotional, stay in the headlines. That was the formula. This is what gets used. At the same time, people mostly saw it as reality TV, entertainment. Trump very much embodies this level of entertainment, this specific type of engagement. And honestly, looking back now, I think that era actually helped normalize the exact kind of outrage culture that dominates America today, because now Spencer Pratt exists inside this massive influence ecosystem where politics, wars, entertainment, and fear and social media, they're all being blended together nonstop. What's fascinating to me is how closely this mirrors modern Republicans and their media playbook to a T, because the formula is almost identical. Find an emotional cultural issue, turn it into a crisis, make people angry, tell audiences they're under attack, create a villain, keep people emotionally activated. That's the cycle. And Spencer enacts this almost perfectly. California's collapsing. Cities are war zones. Progressives destroyed America. We've heard it all. Everything becomes fear based, everything becomes emotional escalation. And honestly, what's important to understand is that this is a strategy that works because social media rewards outrage more than truth. The algorithm doesn't care if something's balanced. It doesn't care if something's nuanced. It cares if people react. Fear, anger, conflict. Another huge part of this new sort of style is AI slop. What we're seeing all over social media with influencers and political content creators is misleading AI generated images, fake scenarios, manipulated clips, and this is something Spencer Pratt taps into directly. He is utilizing this to its fullest. The goal isn't accuracy, the goal is emotional reaction. It's the image that looks dramatic enough, feels scary enough to pull you in. That's the dangerous part, because people scroll so fast now that they don't stop and ask, hey, is this even real? A lot of these accounts know that. They know fear travels faster than facts. It's not journalism, it's emotional manipulation wrapped up in content creation. And the modern political influencer, they've figured that out. They're utilizing that. That's why so much of the right wing influencer space feels emotionally exhausted all the time, because the audience is intentionally kept in a permanent state of panic and cultural anxiety. Every time there's an emergency, a new enemy, a new outrage, a new reason America is supposedly ending. And honestly, I think this is one of the biggest reasons our politics have become so toxic. People aren't consuming information anymore. We're consuming emotional stimulation disguised as information. And again, this isn't me saying America doesn't have real problems, because we do now more than ever. Housing costs, healthcare, homelessness, the wealth gap, it's all out of control. But honestly, what frustrates me most is how influencers like Spencer Pratt utilize this to their self interest, like Trump. taking a complicated system systemic problem and simplifying it into culture war narration that drives engagement. That's what really gets me. And millions of people really absorb this stuff because every day we're using TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and podcasts and live streams, and it just doesn't end over and over and over. And honestly, you start not knowing what's true. Does this emotionally validate what I already feel, or is this fact? Always fact check. Do your research. Really dig into things. Find multiple sources. Honestly, independent media has to be careful too. That's part of the reason why I started this channel. I really want to support and get out there real information, real facts that are not getting talked about enough. Independent journalism, independent creators, we need to support them in the right way. Corporate media has failed us for way too long, but independent media is really stepping up. And that's where we need to focus. I think people like Spencer Pratt really represent that sort of entire thing that has gone wrong with social media. The outrage, the confusion, that right there is what is needing to be moved away from. Not just Spencer Pratt himself, but the whole system, the division, the fear, the emotional manipulation. It's not how we should engage. So follow me as I continue to bring up, highlight, and break down what's happening in America, and I will see you next time.